So when it comes to the BA, so what do we need to do as BAs here? So obviously we need to understand that there is this sense of formality of the assessment in terms of whether it's formal, it can be done informally, casually, or what is the level of formality of that one. So which means that it is about your approach to that. Is it something that can be done, taken a decision, okay, yes, we can do that, no, we can do, or we need to have a proper business case, there should be an impact analysis report, there's a sense of go no go decision, all of that, kind of proper 100-page report need to be in place, and then we're going to put that report to the project control change control board, and the project change control board goes through that, adds their own addendums to that, and then create another huge report of 1,000 page that gets pushed up into the organization change control board. Well, that's, if that is the case, it is there, it's a formal approach. But then, so you can also try and look at all of these other things as to, do we need, what kind of approach do we need, what about the information, what is the level of information we need, what's the granularity, what's the kind, do we need to have a report, what kind of report do we have to have, one page, is it just an email that I can send, or is it just a change of field in the web application that I need to change? Well, you've got those decisions, right? And then impact analysis, we do again, like in the previous activity, we do assess the potential impact of this particular change or requirement, a change on the benefits and the cost, schedule, urgency, and perhaps the time and everything else, the resources. And then you would take a decision. What is the final resolution in terms of, is it a go decision or a no-go decision? Should we go for it or not? Should we accept the change or reject it, blah, blah, blah. And again, as we discussed, very important that we involve stakeholders in this, in terms of internal stakeholders. That's where the customers come in picture. Very important that we have the customers buy in, the end users, and the customers again play a significant role in assessing the requirements. And also when it comes to the assessment or analysis of the requirements, most often it is the domain subject matter experts, because they understand the impact, the business rules, the domain knowledge of that particular industry. They would play a significant role. And then because of the fact that change in the business rules, perhaps they are more aware of what's happening now vis-a-vis what was there before. So they could actually give you a better consultation or a better advice. And then obviously the other thing is the end user. Very important that we involve the end users, because sometimes the end users who actually give you a lot of changes in the requirement, because they're the people who are on the ground, who are using your product. They're the ones who get massively impacted by your process, the product, or your offering. So they're the people who could actually use it and then come up with, okay, by the way, this is a better way to do this. This is a better way. I think I'm really getting stuck here. You need to change this to a better one, right? So they're the best sources of the changes for these requirements. Project manager need to be consulted for a structure in this reporting, and the regulator for obviously understanding the changes in the requirements, because if at all anything gets changed in terms of the regulation, in terms of the law, in terms of some of these business rules, it's the regulatory stuff, right? The Financial Conduct Authority changes, some of these, the banks, the LIBOR rates, interest rates, or the taxes, everything gets changed regularly. So we should be always on the top of that, and then we should try and make our decisions in accordance with these changes happening. We can't just have one size fits all approach and take one decision and then stick to it, because a lot of regulations keep changing. And then testers, QA, they play a significant role. The development team obviously, plus the testers, play a significant role in making sure that the requirement that's changed, whether that is incorporated into the new build or not. So they would be the people doing the regression testing, for example, to assess what is the impact of this particular change in the overall builds that were in the set of features that we've already got into the build that we have delivered or we have got ready. So for example, if you've got 10 features into your product and they're all fine, they're working already good and everything is ready to be deployed in the next release. And then you've got the second and the fifth features that got changed. And with the changes on those 2 features out of 10, what would be the impact? Would the rest of the 8 features working all right? Are they having some kind of impact because of the 2 that got changed? So they should not affect it, right? That's the whole idea of, that's why we need to do the regression test. That's called regression testing. So you do the testing to make sure that whatever is working fine so far is not impacted because of the changes or new requirements that came in. So very important that testers do this, more so in the agile context, because the pace of changes is so rapid, the pace of development and delivery is so rapid that you would need to keep track of them. That's why we do a lot of automation in agile. It's humanly impossible to accommodate so many different changes coming in from so many different directions, and to incorporate all those changes into the build and then deliver it really quickly within the next 2 weeks or 3 months or 1 month. So we need to deploy a lot of automation, a lot of tools and technologies, so that we can do some of the things which can be done by the machines better and quicker. And the human intervention could be focused on the things which have to take decisions, for example. So that's why we deploy a lot of automation and automation testing and regression testing, integration testing within the agile methods, Scrum and Kanban and Safe and all that. What kind of techniques would you use in this context? You use, again, business rules analysis. Again, we discussed this, very important, like in the last activity, significant impact if you are not taking care of the associated business rules or the changes that are happening within the business rules. Business case is, again, very important. We need to understand what is the business case for the requirement. If you really want to accommodate a requirement which has a significant impact in the way that the project has been designed or product has been created, then we need to, again, create a business case just for that, to accommodate that, the effect of whether it is got a significant architectural impact or a design impact, coding impact, people, new skills to be brought in. So perhaps the business case need to be created or need to be updated to reflect that. And decision analysis, again, very important, the go, no go decision in terms of what has been finally the outcome of all this assessment again. And then document analysis, we need to refer to the documents, refer to the procedures, the policies, the laws, the bylaws, right? All of these, if it is real estate, if it's manufacturing, if it is banking, insurance, whatever it is, depending on the industry, they've got so many different laws and bylaws and rules and regulations. We need to go through all of them. Interviews, again, very important, because we need to either communicate or to understand the basis for taking a decision. We need to actually have the interviews with the senior management, with the stakeholders, sometimes even with the customers and users. That's really beneficial, so that we can then understand the basis for their change that they're suggesting, because potentially the changes could come from any of these. It could come from the customers, it could come from the end users, it could come from the senior management or the sponsors or the stakeholders, senior stakeholders. In which case, having an interview, one-on-one, would actually give us a good insight into why fundamentally that particular change has been suggested by them or requested by them. So we can actually, with that motivation, with a clear understanding of that motivation, the rationale, we can then take a call, we can take a decision in a much better way, much informed manner. And item tracking, again, comes into picture, because you're actually assessing the impact, and if that requirement is now taken on board, if the change is now taken on board, you need to create the requirement or make the change in the backlog, affect the change, and then again, that needs to be tracked all the way through. The traceability would again kick in, forward traceability, and then again, if required, the backward traceability. Risk analysis and management, again, very important here, because again, as we discussed, with every change, potentially you need to understand the impact that it's going to have on the overall product, the process, or the project, in terms of the people risks, the business risks, the market, technology, all of these different types of risks, and what could be done to address that risk and manage that risk better. Estimation, again, once the change is being studied with respect to the impact it's going to create, then you need to understand the size of that particular requirement change, whether it is simple to work on, is it massive, is it a lot of work involved, is it going to be a showstopper, is it going to be like, okay, this now, oh my god, now we need to just stop everything that we're doing, just focus on this, address this, because it's massive change, and that would alter everything. It's almost like a course correction of what we're doing. and then take a stock of that, and then kind of hit the pause button, and then try and look at what is required for us to incorporate the change in the requirements or in the overall product design and the process design. So financial analysis, again, to understand the financial impact of that, the investment aspect of it, if it requires significant budgets, what is the impact on the cash flow? Is it going to have an impact on the payback? Is it going to delay the payback further down the line, the discounted cash flows and things like that? All of that, again, need to be studied, and so we could deploy the financial analysis technique as well.